Hey, hello, welcome. That's right. It's the breakdown here on the LoudMouth MMA Network. I'm your co-host Max Friedman, known as Trademark MMA to the Twitter world. I'm absolutely freezing today. It's negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit here in Chicago. Nonetheless, I'm joined by the number one social media MMA account on this planet. That's MMA DNA's Marcel Dorff. Big Marcel, how you feeling this Wednesday?
Yeah, feeling well, man. Always awesome to breaking down these fights with you. And yeah, great. How are you doing, man? Besides the cold.
Besides the cold, all good. They've pretty much shut down the city, so it's like a lot of office buildings are saying stay home. A lot of businesses are closing. So I've just been in my apartment. Me and my girlfriend have been locked down here. But nonetheless, it is fight week. A lot going on here in the world of MMA this week. A lot of fight announcements. Nevada State Athletic Commission hearing, but most importantly, we got a big fight card on the horizon. That's right, UFC Fight Night 144. That comes at you Saturday, February 2nd, 2019. Centro de Formação Olímpica de Nordeste in Fortaleza, Brazil, the first of many events to come in Brazil this year. That will be broadcast all on ESPN Plus. And don't forget, as part of the LoudMouth MMA Network, there are quite a few shows, so be sure to follow on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's the Not Safe for Work MMA show. Really fun one there from our host, Kyle Steele. MMA Yesterday, looking at UFC events of years past, the DFS Express for all you daily fantasy users out there, along with interviews and fight companions, but perhaps the number one new show on the network right now, Around the Cage. It's MMA's version of ESPN's Around the Horn, hosted by the great Davidson Baker of the MMA Takeover. The king of rock and rumble, Elvis Sinisic, took home the crown last week. That's right, former UFC light heavyweight title challenger. Also, we got this week, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but our very own Big Marcel on this week's episode just dropped all over wherever you can find your podcasts. So be sure to download that, check that out. Big Marcel, was that a good time running that show and being a part of it?
Awesome, man. Very fun time. I can't wait to do it again.
Well, let's not get too far off track here. We are here to break down fights. And moving forward, we want to make things a little interesting. So we're going to keep an ongoing score of the right and wrong predictions we make. In addition, we're going to track those fight night bonuses too each week, picking. And our last thing, we're going to pick one betting underdog who's going to get the job done. We had our first show of the year 2 weeks ago for UFC Brooklyn, and I went back, totaled the scores. It is a dead tie. Both finished 10-4 on the night. We each got one bonus correct, too. Big Marcel with the big pick of Henry Cejudo getting the finish there. I walked away with a nice bonus on Cowboy Cerrone. So all knotted up going into UFC Fortaleza. Get started, Marcel. Anything you want to shout out? Or are you ready to get rolling?
Let's keep it rolling, man.
Kicking off the fight card, as you know, we go from bottom to top here on the prelims. Newcomers stepping in on late notice here. This is Geraldo de Freitas taking on Felipe Corrales. De Freitas, a minus 140 favorite. The comeback on Corrales is plus 110, so pretty close line here. A late notice bout added between UFC debuting fighters. This fight is at 145. Important to know, Corrales typically competes at, De Freitas typically competes at bantamweight. Corrales more of a natural featherweight here. De Freitas 11-4, 27 years old, winner of 6 straight, and 10-2 in his last 12. And those 2 actual losses were only by split decision. So pretty close in each of those last 12. 8 of those wins coming by stoppage. Corrales, Cabosau, I believe is how you pronounce it. A little bit more hype behind him. He is an 8-0 Team Nogueira featherweight, only 24 years old, and the former Jungle Fight featherweight champion. Big Marcel, how do you see this jerker going this evening?
Yeah, it's actually the third fight on the card. But
it is?
yeah, they put it in between for some reason. I don't know. But That's it. You got the Shooto Brazil champ against the former jungle fight champion in Brazil. I think it's a pretty big fight for the Brazilian card. I think that's why they added it there. Felipe Cabocao, Colares. I'm pretty high on him. I think he's a good prospect. Has a win over Thiago Mancinha, Thiago Silva, which is also a very good fighter. I'm not too familiar with both of these guys, but if I have to go for someone, I will go for Colares because I think he's one of the future. He can be one of the future big stars in Brazil, and based on that, I'm going with him. But it's a very hard fight for me to predict because I'm not really familiar with both fighters, knowing that they both have been champions and good organizations in Brazil. But yeah, for me, Cabatsao by probably I go with a unanimous decision win.
Yeah, two organizations that have been known for promoting some of the most up and coming talent in Brazil. That's Chuto Brazil and Jungle Fight. I'm going to go Colares here too, Cabo Cow. Being that a little bit more hype behind him, it was interesting to see the line that he is the betting underdog, but I think he gets it done. Unanimous decision here. Now, maybe I have the bout order wrong. I thought that was the first bout in the evening, followed by the next fight at bantamweight, which is Rogerio Bontorin and Magomed Bibulatov. Is that correct? Is that the first bout of the evening?
That's the first, yeah. And after that, Ramos against Nurmagomedov, and then we get the one we had Colares against Freitas.
Okay. All right. So we should be all good then. All right. Back at it. Bantamweights up next. Rogerio Bontorin, the Brazilian, taking on number 11 ranked at flyweight Magomed Bibulatov. Big favorite here, Bibulatov sitting at minus 350. The comeback on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. Brazil veteran Bontorin plus 360. Bibulatov, kind of the forgotten man here. Was considered a really highly decorated signing out of the World Series of Fighting. Came in, got his UFC debut, picked up a win over Janelle Lausa. Really had his momentum halted by John Moraga, and he's been out of action since. His lone loss was the UFC offensive wrestling pressure from Magomed Bibulatov. Not sure, given it's his debut. Big Marcel, how do you see this one playing out? Oh, looks like we lost my co-host for just a second here. Are you back? He's back.
Oh yeah.
All right. Bontorin, Bibulatov, what do you got?
Yeah, Bibulatov. I think he's a really good fighter. Like you said, it was a big signing when he came from WSOF. He had that injury last year with the back injury where he pulled out against Sasaki like 2 days before. Bontorin, Dana White Contender Series, Brazil. He's coming down to flyweight. He's normally bantamweight, right?
Right.
Yeah. I'm picking Bibulatov here. He lost some momentum because of the Moraga loss, which I didn't see coming. But Moraga is pretty. He's on a comeback tour lately, Moraga. So that said, I'm going with Bibulatov here by. It's a tough fight, unanimous decision, or maybe even a split decision. But I'm going with Bibulatov here. But it will be a tough fight.
I agree with you there. Bibulatov gets it done by decision. I believe this fight is at 135 pounds. I believe both. Actually, Bibulatov moving up for this one. We can get some clearance on that, but I thought that was the case. Nonetheless, we move on. Sticking in the 135-pound bantamweight division. Interesting fight here. Ricardo Ramos in his home country of Brazil taking on the number 12 ranked flyweight Said Nurmagomedov. He is going up for this fight. Interesting note, the line for this fight has flipped. Originally, Nurmagomedov was a minus 140 favorite. Now, Ramos, the minus 120 favorite, Nurmagomedov the plus 110 underdog, and I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, Ricardo Ramos. He's a great fighter, man. I mean, he's very underrated, I think. They actually were decided in 2016 already when he fought at the Legacy card, but he lost to Manny Vasquez. And after that, he got a win against Alfred Kasakian, and then he got signed 3-0 in the UFC with that amazing spinning elbow finish over Ayman Zahabi. Then Said Nurmagomedov come from the World Fighting Championship Ahmad organization. Debut against Justin Scoggins, split decision win, which was very controversial to say the least. He's coming up to bantamweight, which is his weight class where he's normally fighting, also at the Ahmad Fight Club. I think I agree with the bookmakers right here that they flipped it because I think Ramos will win this fight probably by a late stoppage. I think he knocks him down and he submits him in the third round, and that's what I see happening, man. Said Nurmagomedov is a great fighter, but I really believe Ramos has this one. Yeah.
Yeah, good matchmaking, good fight here. Ramos 3-0 in the UFC, still only 23, and seems to really be growing inside the octagon here. Magomedov had a very controversial win in his UFC debut, nonetheless. Back up at his natural weight class. Don't expect the weight cut to be any different for either of those gentlemen. Ramos gets it done, decision. So not to sound unprofessional here, but I want to make sure we have the right bout order. I believe the next fight is at heavyweight with Mr. Albini. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Junior Albini, home fight here. He takes on the debuting Arzinho Rozenstruik. This is a coin flip, minus 110 on each side. Albini, we know, struggled since his flawless UFC debut, maybe on the hot seat here for third straight loss. Rozenstruik replaces Dmitry Sosnovsky here. He makes his UFC debut. He is 6-0. He is from the country of Suriname. Fought in Ryzen earlier this year, beat the highly touted Andrei Kovalev. Albini, we know, has power, has had some issues in the UFC maintaining a strong high pace and avoiding some of the most dangerous weapons of his opponent. Big Marcel, how do you see this one going?
This is a horrible fight to pick because for the reason that Albini hasn't looked impressive at all in his UFC career so far, only against Tim Johnson he caught him, and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, he's like he beat the only kind of name he beat is Kovalev by split decision. All the other ones weren't really big names, you know. So it's very hard to even make a choice here. I just hope it will be a first round knockout for either one. I don't hope to see a 15-minute fight, to be honest here. My gut feeling says that Albini will get it done by a submission after knocking him down, and it's a pick and fight for me, this one, really. I mean, this can be literally, this is like you said, is a coin flip. I really think that as well. So yeah, what do you think, man?
Yeah, coin flip, tough fight to call. Not a lot known on Rozenstruik, but Albini just seems to have struggled a little too hard his last two fights. He just seems a little too slow in there. Can't seem to get his offense going. I'll take the newcomer, TKO, first round.
Ooh, and the difference.
Yeah, we got to have something here. Otherwise, we're keep tying everything. All right, moving along. I believe the next fight is at flyweight for the women. Are we correct?
Yeah.
Talia Santos making her UFC debut. She takes on the number 13 ranked flyweight, the Italian Mara Romero Borella. Some money coming in on Borella here. Originally the underdog at plus 155, now down to plus 135. Santos opened up at minus 175, now at minus 155. Borella, a great UFC debut, but fell short in her second UFC outing against Caitlin Chookagian. She's been out of action just over a year. Cage Side Press's Alfredo Zulino chronicled her bodybuilding suspension issues in Italy, but although it seemed does not have any impact on her MMA career. Definitely recommend checking out his work there. Santos, meanwhile, 15-0, Brazilian. Strength of competition could be seen as lacking, but nonetheless, she earned that contract on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series Brazil, getting it done over Estefania Almeida. Big Marcel, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, Aspera FC champion Tyler Santos against Romero Borrella. It's a tough name to pronounce all the time. Yeah, I'm not really impressed by Romero Borrella. Her debut was good, I think, against Kalinda Faria. There was a quick submission, but the Shukagian fight was really underwhelming to me. And Santos, she did look pretty good against Estefania. Was it Almeida? Yeah. Huh? Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Estefania
Yeah.
Almeida.
Yeah, in the contender series, Brazilian contender series. I'm going here with Tyler by a decision probably, but I don't see this as a. I don't think this will be a very, how do you say that, very entertaining fight. I think it will be very close, but not very entertaining. So, but I'm taking Santos by split decision. Very close fight.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't slipped up yet, 15-0, but I'm going to take the flip side. Mara Borrella, underdog, gets it done. Unanimous decision. Split decisions for the Brazilian and Brazil sometimes tend to go that way, so she'll get it done unanimous. All right, 170 pounds. The welterweights are on display in this next one. Thiago Pitbull Alves taking on Max Payne Griffin. Griffin, the minus 235 favorite in this one. Thiago Alves, the veteran, plus 195 on the underdog. Now, there are a lot of veteran fighters in the UFC that you really hate to see step in there these days. It's just very clear that the game has passed them by, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But Thiago Alves, to me, is still very much competing when he steps in there. At this point in his career, though, Griffin seems to be the more athletic and quicker fighter, but I'm going to go out and say it. I'm going to say ring the upset alarm here. Thiago Alves turns back the clock and gets a TKO in this one. Just think that Max Griffin does not have the sharpest skill set to take down Alves. He has a couple wins in the UFC impressively over Mike Perry and Eric Perry Montano, but Alves, the veteran, is going to get it done here. Marcel, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, it's what you say, man. People count out Alves. He has one win in his last 5 outings. But his fights were competitive, man. I mean, the Kunchenko fight was competitive. I really think it was close, actually. It was unanimous, I think, for Kunchenko, but I think it was a close fight, what I remember seeing. That said, Max Payne Griffin, it was not a great showing from him against Curtis Melander, but he was impressive, I think, against Mike Perry, what I saw. That said, I tend to lean to Max Griffin in this one. So going with a unanimous decision win, I think if Alves wins, he probably knocks him out in the first or second round. But I think Max Griffin by unanimous decision. And hey, what's fun? We have another difference here. So
there we go. We're getting it going. Gotta mix it up. All right, well, headlining the prelims on ESPN Plus, a really intriguing bout in the middleweight division, 185 pounds. Marcus Perez taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Many fans excited to see Anthony Fluffy Hernandez ever since that really violent KO victory over Jordan Wright on the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series last summer. Perez has a unique style. He's 1-2 thus far in the UFC, albeit the controversial loss to Andrew Sanchez's last time out. But once again, maybe on the hot seat, third straight loss here if that happens. It is a home game for him, for Marcus Perez. Now, odds makers have Fluffy Hernandez as the favorite, minus 200. Comeback on Perez, plus 170. Does Anthony Fluffy Hernandez get his UFC debut on the right track, or does he more or less fall victim to the va morir?
I think you'll get it on the right track, man. I'm pretty high on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. He was impressive in his Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series fight against Jordan Wright. Too bad for him. He got overturned in a no contest because of what was that, marijuana? Yeah,
Yeah.
I really feel bad always that fights get overturned because of such a thing. But it was impressive, man. I mean, I think well, what do you think, actually? His fight is right after Max Griffin fight, and those are pretty close. Those are teammates. Will
Yeah.
the Griffin fight have influence on his performance? What do you think?
That's an interesting point you bring up. The highlights we've seen there in that from that to occur with the Pettis brothers. With Anthony's notably talked about how watching Sergio fight really impacts the way he's performed. Teammates tend to fight all the time. Like in UFC Milwaukee, you had quite a few Rufus Sport guys on. That's an interesting dynamic. Would love to hear I guess their influence, whether or not it has something to do with how they step in there, how they perceive it, knowing that one of their teammates just won or lost.
Yeah.
But knowing that, I'm calling the upset alarm for Alves. I don't think it makes any difference. Fluffy Hernandez gets it done. Submission, guillotine, round 2.
Okay, I'm going with TKO first round.
Okay. Another big finish on the horizon for Fluffy Hernandez. That's the prediction here from Big Marcel. We move on to the main card. And if I have it correctly, we are opening up with the ladies.
Yes.
Former Invicta strawweight champion, Livia Hanata Souza. She takes on the debuting Sarah Frota. This should be a fun matchup, and I'm really disappointed to see them two in the cage together because there's quite a bit of talent here. I mean, Souza, like we mentioned, the former Invicta champion, lone loss in her career is to Angela Hill, but had a dominant debut over Alex Chambers, victorious in her UFC debut. On the comeback, Sarah Frota, the plus 190 underdog, she's 9-0. She is 30, and seems to be like a violent killer in there. Signed off that huge finish from the Contender Series. Wow, a lot of Contender Series debuts on this card. Big Marcel, does the veteran get it done, or is the newcomer the one to take it over here and win and get the underdog cash?
Man, this is kind of an Ankalaev against Stosic feeling for me. Why you would make this fight between a newcomer who's undefeated against arguably one of the better women in the strawweight division, in my opinion, Livia Renata Souza. Nah, I see Livia winning this one. I mean, she has so much. How do you say that? Experience. She, like you said, she only lost once against Angela Hill, and was that a split decision? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. And she really impressed me in all her fights after that against Ayaka Hamasaki, against Janessa Morandin, and against Alex Chambers. Had a great debut, a very quick debut was that. Sarah Frota, very good fight in the Contender Series. I saw that as well. But I think she's good, but there are levels, and I think Livia Renata Souza can easily be top 10, maybe even top 5 in that division. So, yeah, I'm going with Livia Renata Souza getting this done by a submission in the end of the first, early second round.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Souza's still only 27 years old, and she's really answered back nicely off of her lone career loss. She does wear down Frota, avoids the big power punches, and gets the sub, but this comes late in the third round. Souza via submission, round 3. We're taking things to some bigger folks in this one. Light heavyweights on display. Johnny Walker, home crowd favorite. The Brazilian is a minus 230 favorite against Justin Ledette, a plus 190 underdog. And Big Marcel, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, Justin Ledette, he's his second fight at light heavyweight right now. He started the UFC career great with 3 wins, back-to-back 3 wins. Then he lost to Alexander Rakic, and I think it was in Hamburg. That was a very underwhelming performance. I think it were 30-25 scores or 30-24 even.
Real lopsided loss, yeah.
Yeah, very, for me, kind of surprising. Not surprising in the way that Rakic won, but the way he won. Johnny Walker, he's coming also off that contender series in Brazil where we defeated Luis Henrique, the Frankenstein guy, who also lost to Gurkansaki in his debut. Um, he won against Khalil Roundtree in Buenos Aires, which he got performance of the night bonus, a vicious knockout by elbow. Um, yeah, he got the momentum, man. It's the star the UFC is wanna make. He's the guy the UFC want to build something about. He got that it factor, I think, and Ledet is very good at volume punching. I think he has a snapping jab, and Johnny Walker, he got that knockout power, man. That killer mentality, and I see him winning this fight probably by knocking out Ledet in the first round. I think he keeps this going. I have much respect for Ledet. I really like his volume punching with the snapping jab, like I said. But I see Walker winning this one probably by knockout in the first round. Uh, yeah, a vicious knockout in the first round by Johnny Walker again.
Yeah, that debut was ultra impressive, no doubt about it. Taking out Khalil Roundtree, it was far more impressive than his contender series Brazil fight. Ledet, like you mentioned, looked really good at heavyweight, but ran into a monster in Rakic last time out. He was favored in that fight too.
Yeah,
But for me, I think he uses that technical boxing really well in this matchup. I think it's on paper a pretty good matchup for Ledet if he's able to execute his game plan. I think he avoids the clinch with Walker and bounces around, able to touch him up and gets the TKO late in the second. So I'm going to take Ledet here on the underdog pick, and yet again we got another difference here.
I like that, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the fight I'm most excited about on this card. This is at lightweight between two. Seemingly, how either of these guys are unranked is beyond me, but two of really the top talent outside the top 15 right now. Charles Oliveira taking on David Tamer. Interesting note on this fight. Oliveira opened up as a plus 150 underdog. Tamer started at a minus 170 favorite. The line now virtually even. Oliveira now at minus 105, Tamer at minus 115. In a division loaded with talent, these two sit right outside the top 15, and I think they're right next to Mairbek Taisimov and Rustam Khabilov. Rustam Khabilov is kind of four of those guys that are really just lingering outside the rankings. Tamer unbeaten in the UFC 5-0, continually finds a way to get it done with his kickboxing, staying on the outside, really good takedown defense. Oliveira, submissions. I mean, who does it better in the UFC than Charles Oliveira? He has the record now for most submission victories. Still only 29 years old. Has won 4 of 5 via submission. That lone loss coming to Paul Felder. Just really seeming to putting it together nicely. Big Marcel, what happens in this fight and why?
Yeah, I know many people are like, it's a very even fight, but I'm very convinced that Charles Oliveira is going to win this fight by submission. I'm really convinced about that because David Tamer, he's a good fighter. He is solid in his performance, but I'm not really like overwhelmed by the way he fights. I think it's solid. It's good technique, and Oliveira is also solid, but he has a special thing, and that's the submission offense. And also, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's amazing. Like you said, who does it better in the UFC? Now, definitely now Lobov is not anymore there. Who does it better? Just fun. But I really have. I have Charles Oliveira by submission, probably in the second round. Thinking, boy, what will we do? It's going for a nice triangle choke here.
Triangle choke, okay. Yeah, Oliveira and the way not only the way he's getting these submissions, but the way he is just going for broke right from the start of the fights. He just seems to really be clicking on all cylinders now. And you know what? He's one tighter squeeze away from being on a 5-fight winning streak and having submitted Paul Felder. That was awfully close Darce choke he had in there for that duration of that first round. I agree. I think he gets it done. David Tamer has not seen any type of grappler with this level of credentials. Nick Lentz, a good grappler in his own mindset, but he is not a Charles Oliveira. Just watch the two when those two squared off. So I'll take Oliveira here, submission in the first round. man, he really deserves a step up in competition, assuming he gets it done here. Moving along, third fight on the main card, the former UFC welterweight and middleweight title challenger Damian Maia, currently sitting at number 8 in the rankings at welterweight. He is a -175 favorite against Team Tiger Schulman's Lyman Good, a +155 underdog. And Big Marcel, I will start with you.
Yeah, man, what can you say? Damian Maia is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials are also over the moon. I mean, he has lost 3 straight right now, but he lost against tough competition. You know, Usman, Covington, and the champ Woodley. Before that, on a nice streak, Lyman Good. I think he's one of a very underrated fighter. Former Bellator champion. Um, in my opinion, he could have been still undefeated in the UFC. I think the Zaleski fight was razor thin close. Could have been his way also as well. Um, he got some problems with that suspension. He's still in court about, you know, Lyman Good, and yeah, I think how longer the fight goes, it's probably better for Damian Maia. But I'm going with the upset here. I'm picking Lyman Good by knockout in the first round, and getting in that ranking, man. And I think he belongs there.
Oh, wow. Big upset prediction here. Marcel going with Lyman Good, the cyborg, coming off that biggest win of his UFC career, that first round knockout over Ben Saunders. And you know what? Not a far-fetched pick there. Team Tiger Schulman's absolute strong camp, a lot of tough UFC talent coming out of that camp these days, and he is a physical specimen. That being said, he's no spring chicken himself. He's 33 years old. Damian Maia, 41 years young, has lost those 3 straight, like you mentioned, but to me, this is a good matchup for him. I think he runs through Lyman Good, maintaining that top pressure and that ground control throughout the duration of the fight. I'll go Maia here via decision. Co-main event time. We're headed to the featherweight division. The former UFC featherweight king, Jose Aldo, number 2 in the rankings currently. He is taking on the number 4 ranked Renato Moicano. This is a Brazilian on Brazilian bout here. Moicano, the slight favorite, -130. Aldo +110. That line has moved a little bit in favor of Aldo. Man, how do you predict this one, though? Moicano, we know, just shows tons of intelligence in there. His only slip in the UFC was to Brian Ortega in a fight that he was winning handedly. Really seems to be growing in as a fighter in there. But Aldo, you can never count out the former champ. Just when you think he gets it done, or when he's done, he turns back the clock and finishes Jeremy Stevens. So really, it's what Jose Aldo are you going to get? So I asked that question to you, Big Marcel. Which Jose Aldo shows up on Saturday night?
I think Jose Aldo will still show up. I think he is. He still has the power, and he still has all the talent in the world to get this done. But Moicano, I'm not going to pick against Moicano here. I think he's on such a good winning streak. He's so impressive. He gets better in every fight I see him fight. I mean, like you mentioned before, his only loss was against Brian Ortega, and that was a fight he was winning. But he went for a sloppy takedown, and he paid for it, you know. But in his last outing against Cub Swanson, really impressive. I gotta go with Moicano here, and I think it's good for the division as well as Moicano is, because if Aldo wins, are we gonna see Max versus Aldo 3? Probably not. So let's keep this division rolling. Nothing against Aldo; he's a legend. I always love watching his fights, but I'm with Moicano here, and I think Moicano gets it done by TKO in the 3rd round.
Interesting pick. Yeah, no disrespect to Jose Aldo, what he did for the sport. True professional in every sense of the word. But he seemed to have one foot out the door ever since that second loss to Max Holloway. So I'm going to take Moicano as well. Unanimous decision. Don't think he is able to finish the former champ, but he uses that range nicely, keeps on the outside, and really picks apart the former champ for 3 rounds. So I'll take Moicano as well. We have another same pick there. And now we move into the main event of the evening in the UFC's bantamweight division. Could we have a next championship contender emerge from this fight? we have yet to see. But now, number 3 ranked Rafael Assunção takes on number 4 ranked Marlon Moraes. Another battle of 2 Brazilian fighters here. A lot of Vegas action coming in on Rafael Assunção. Opened up as a plus 195 underdog. Now he's a plus 160 underdog. Meanwhile, Moraes, the favorite, has moved from minus 235 down to minus 185. This is the rematch from a UFC 212 matchup from June of 2017, a fight that Assunção won via a split decision. Since that win, Moraes been absolutely stellar, coming off back-to-back KO victories. Assunção has won 4 straight since his loss to TJ Dillashaw at UFC 200. Is it the 36-year-old Assunção who's somehow hasn't gotten a title shot despite being on such a streak over the last 5 years? Or is Marlon Moraes magic continuing his streak and he earning that opportunity? What do you think, Big Marcel?
First, I want to say I'm pretty shocked by the picks on the topology. I see 81% are picking Moraes and 19% like Assunção, and I think it's a really close fight. So I'm pretty shocked about that, to be honest. That said, the first fight was very close. I think many people thought Moraes won. Others thought Assunção won. I think always a close fight, a really close fight, you can never say it's a robbery, you know? So it could have gone either way, in my opinion. If you don't look at that fight, Moraes would have like a 10-plus fight winning streak. Assunção, yeah, the problem with Assunção here is that many people don't think he is entertaining enough, and I don't think that should be in the back of the head of the promotion by giving him a title shot or not. I mean, the guy deserves it. I think Moraes got better matchups to showcase his skills in the bantamweight division. Like he got like Sterling and Rivera, you know, and Assunção didn't get these higher ranked guys. It was all the ranked guys he got was below him or even not ranked. So that said, I feel Assunção is going to get this done, man. I think many people will picking Moraes here, but I see Assunção going for 5 rounds and taking that decision home. And I think the UFC will overlook him again and give Henry Cejudo the title shot against TJ Dillashaw. That's what I think is going to happen.
And I agree with a lot of your sentiment there. Rafael Assunção really seems to have been the forgotten man in the division, despite having these win streaks, and now he's had 4 straight since his loss to TJ Dillashaw. But like you mentioned, they keep matching him up with guys towards the bottom edge of the rankings. Rob Font, Matthew Lopez at the same time, even after defeating Marlon Moraes via split decision. But those really flawless KO victories from Moraes the last 2 times out, Aljamain Sterling, and then the head kick over Jimmy Rivera in the first round. I mean, it seems to be that Magic Moraes has kind of gotten rid of those UFC jitters, and now he's dead set on making a run at that title. I could definitely easily see Rafael Assunção getting it done, but I'm going to say Marlon Moraes with a head kick knockout in the 3rd round. Going to be a fun one, though. But yet we got another difference here. And now, knowing we have our picks for the event, we need to look at bonuses. So we got fight of the night, performance of the night, and another performance of the night. I will let you start, Big Marcel. Who gets it done?
Fight of the night, Jose Aldo against Renato Moicano. Performance of the night, Lyman Good. And who should we pick? Let me think. Fluffy Hernandez.
Good picks as well. Fight of the night, man, this is tough. I'm going to actually say main event, fight of the night, Marlon Moraes and Rafael Assunção. Performance of the night, Charles Oliveira getting a submission win. And man, I don't know about that second one. Do I take the double up on the main event here, just like Cowboy Cerrone did? You know what, I'm going to do it. Doubling up. Marlon Moraes gets performance of the night and fight of the night. Takes home 100 G's. Let's go with it. Now, the new pick of the week. One underdog. Who's going to cash? And you're most confident, and why? Big Marcel, one pick. Who is the betting underdog that's going to get it done?
Lyman Good.
There you have it. Lyman Good via knockout is Big Marcel's pick. I'm going to go with the Pitbull, Thiago Alves, former welterweight title challenger, turns back the clock in fashion that we saw with Jim Miller, Alex White. He's going to get it done over Max Griffin on Saturday night. That is UFC Fight Night 144 this Saturday from Fortaleza, Brazil. All fights can be seen on ESPN Plus, so be sure to check that out. Big Marcel, anything else on your mind today in the world of MMA, Nevada State Athletic Commission hearing, UFC London fight announcements, anything catch your eyes today?
Yeah, I didn't know. Did you see the press conference in London earlier today?
In London, no. I just saw the stare down between Masvidal and Till. That was it.
Okay, that was some funny thing. Like Leon Edwards, he was really aggravated about him not getting the main event spot against Darren Till. And Darren Till was like, dude, let me first fight Masvidal. And after that, I beat you up, and then I get my rematch for the title. So, and he was like, yeah, well, we got to do it in Birmingham, Edwards said. And then he was like, no, nobody likes Birmingham. It's like, it was pretty funny.
Check that out after this call.
Sorry?
Got to check that out after this call. Go take a watch.
Yeah, it was pretty fun, and yeah, so some good fights announced, I think, for the London card. I mean, Mike Grundy, teammate of Darren Till, is on it against Nat Narimani. Danny Henry finally back in the octagon after a year layoff against Dan Ige, which is also a good fight, and of course Nathaniel Wood fighting Jose Quinones, which is also a good fight. Plus Mark D. Casey against Joe Duffy.
And the return of Arnold Almighty Allen taking on Jordan Rinaldi.
Definitely, man. I mean, what a comeback win he had last time against Matt Burnell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's some good fights announced, man. I had to tweet out yesterday. There were like 54 fights already this month, and now we are over 60, man. That's crazy, you know? It's absolutely
Even
crazy.
us true passionate fans entertained knowing the fight announcement the second it gets released. That's something that they can't take away from us.
Definitely, man. 100%.
Before we wrap up, be sure to let the people know where they can find all your stuff. Oh, sorry, you got something else for me.
Now, maybe it's good to mention that the start time for Fortaleza is a little bit earlier than normal, than people expect.
You know, I saw that too. I believe it's starting at, I want to say either 7 or 8 Eastern time.
It's, let's see, normally a pay-per-view starts in Eastern time 10, and now the main card is at 8. So
the main card is at 8 Eastern, so 7 o'clock Central, and I believe, if I have this correct, that is 2 a.m. local Holland time. Is that correct?
Yeah, man. That's good, man. I have to cover an event in Brussels, so I probably can't catch the prelims, but I can catch the main card. So, yeah.
We'll watch it on replay. Best part
Of
about
course,
the
of course, man. We can still watch it on Fight Pass here, so all good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let the people know where they can find all your stuff.
MMADNA.nl, MMA DNA on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram, BigMarcel24. Also on Twitter, both. And yeah, I want to thank you. Very much for being here again. I love doing these breakdowns, man. Let everybody follow Trademark MMA as well. LoudMouth MMA. I'm super happy to be here. I'm really happy to do these breakdowns with you, and thanks so much, Max, for being always awesome.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate the kind words, Big Marcel. As I've mentioned, following you is my favorite account across all social media, that being Instagram and Twitter, Big Marcel24. You can find me at Trademark MMA on Twitter. Contribute to Cage Side Press and the Body Lock MMA. So some things about to drop on both those sites fairly soon here. I want to thank our generous leaders, Kyle Steele, LoudMouth MMA, and Keith Schillen. Without them, none of this would be possible, as I quote Joe Rogan here. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we will be back for UFC 234 from Australia, the middleweight title fight next week. So get excited. Thanks again, Big Marcel.
Thank you, man.